So we've been asked why start a volleyball club. Now my short answer is why not? But let me elaborate. You gotta understand, my wife Marika and I opened up the Fieldhouse Fitness Center back in 2003, so 15 years ago this September. Within 5 years we had 3 locations, eventually converting one of them into a CrossFit studio. In 2008 we did a citywide fitness makeover at the city of Dish. Now that's a little bitty town here in North Texas that changed their name to Dish, as in Dish Network, and all had free satellite. Well, that spring they were named the fittest city in Texas. So then 2010 we began Jailbreak Race events, which ended up hosting events in Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, South Padre Island, El Paso, and then here in DFW, with more than 100,000 participants over the last 8 years. We've also done a triathlon, we've created the South Padre Island Marathon, some color runs, and a whole host of 5Ks, including the Reindeer Romp, which has raised more than $80,000 for Northwest ISD PE departments, and our Thanksgiving Day Grub Run at Texas Motor Speedway, which we work with Texas Motor Speedway, but also the Tarrant Area Food Bank, and each year we fill up a semi-truck full of food to help feed hungry North Texans. Now, about a year and a half ago, I began working out with my son in the mornings. It was 7th grade at the time, and school didn't start till late. So we started meeting to work out before school. Now, the first morning, it was just me and him. Now, a dad saw me and Preston working out and talked to Marika and said, hey, can my son join in with them? So the second day, we had 2 people. By the end of the week, we had 6. 2 weeks later, there was 20. So that kind of was the start of what would become the Fieldhouse summer camps, which now we have 50 to 70 kids throughout the summer coming out and working out. Now, Marika had actually jumped in before then. 3 years ago, she started the Justin Running Club here at the local Justin Elementary School, and seen it grow from about 15 to 20 kids to more than 50 this past year. So if you notice, we've got 2 different themes that kind of play in here. Number 1, we have a passion for fitness and working with youth. Number 2, we're not afraid to try new things. So why club volleyball? Well, to be honest, it's a perfect extension of what we've already been doing with young athletes. It's a sport that my daughter and her cousins have gotten into years ago, and over the last 2 years, my daughter transitioned into playing club. Now, she didn't want to play club to begin with, and I sure didn't want to be the parent of a club player. That was not what I saw in our future. But it was because she was uncomfortable with it. She was not sure that she wanted to do it because it was a different type of pressure. She wasn't used to it. She had always been the younger kid playing on older teams, and so for the first time in her life, she was playing on age level, and there was more expected of her, and that made her uncomfortable. And I'm all for creating situations and finding situations where my kids will be uncomfortable, where I'm uncomfortable. I'm a big believer that your quality of life is going to be determined by how comfortable you can become at being uncomfortable. With our summer camps, we get this short period of time. We don't get the consistent drip. With a volleyball, we're going to have months and months and months to have a consistent drip. Its change doesn't happen with a weekend seminar. It does not happen with a week-long process, a month-long process. Change happens with strategic socialization, being around the right people on a consistent basis, where you're just getting seated on a consistent basis on who was I created to be? Who am I going to be? Who do I want to become? And this is a great outlet for us to be able to do that. So what's going to make us different from anybody else? Well, number 1, I think it's going to be our relentless focus on building better athletes. You see, I believe that you can take a great athlete and make them into a very good volleyball player, but you'll never find a great volleyball player who's not a very good athlete. And the great thing about that is that we can build athletes. We're going to have a very specific focus on prehab and injury prevention. Girls particularly have lots of issues with overuse with their shoulders, with their knees. They have what's called a bad Q angle. They have overdeveloped quads, underdeveloped hamstrings. We're going to be relentlessly focused on building up those areas of the body to help prevent injury so that they can become better athletes long term. Now, as part of that, we're a big believer in being multi-sport athletes. We think you ought to play as many sports as you possibly can as time allows. Studies have shown that unless you are a gymnast or unless you're an ice skater, it just doesn't make sense to focus only on one sport. The best athletes out there are the multi-sport athletes. They are well-rounded, they're well-trained, they're multidisciplinary, and that's what we want for all of our athletes here at Fieldhouse Volleyball Club. We are going to relentlessly focus on developing the physical, the mental, the emotional things that are required to become an elite level athlete. And that bedrock is not just going to serve them now, but we hope it will serve them when they're 25, 30, 40 years old. Because let's face it, nobody's going to care what they did when they were 12 years old. Nobody's going to care what they did when they were 15 years old. Nobody's going to care that they made varsity as a sophomore or whatever it may be. They're only going to care about who they are then at 25, 35, and 45. And we want to make sure that we are laying a foundation of self-discipline, self-confidence, of being comfortable, being uncomfortable, of self-confidence to be able to give feedback as well as receive feedback, a inner motivation to do the extra work that's required to attain the things that you really want to attain in your life, so that you can live life to the full, so they can live an abundant life and not be hamstrung by fear that grips too many of us. Now, the second thing I believe will set us apart from other clubs is that we've gone out and we've partnered with the best master coach we could find. So if I lived in Hawaii and I was starting a football team, I would be looking for a coach from Texas. However, I live in Texas and we're starting a volleyball club, so we found a coach from Hawaii. Annette Garcia, some of you may already know her. If you do, you love her. If you haven't met her, I promise you're going to love her once you get to know her. And yes, I understand Garcia is not a Hawaiian name. She met her husband at Eastern New Mexico, where she was playing volleyball in college, and she has lived in the North Texas area for the last several years. Literally first started putting her hands on a volleyball when she was 3 years old. She was raised by a family that volleyball coaches. Volleyball was in their blood. That's what they did. And it carried her through college, but then she's also been coaching now as an adult. And we've had a fantastic experience with her over the last year with my daughter's team and with all the extra clinics and private practices that she has done. And she's going to be a fantastic addition to the Fieldhouse Volleyball Club. She's also going to be our head coach for the 13U Navy and the 12U Navy. She's also going to serve as the master coach for the entire program, meaning she's going to be working hands-on with the other coaches. So she's going to make sure that we have some continuity with the different coaching philosophies amongst all the different teams. So what are we looking for? We're looking for young athletes who are willing to work hard, play hard, and have fun. Most importantly, though, we're looking for parents who will allow their young athletes to learn discipline, to learn self-control, to learn the skill set that they need to be successful in life. We're looking for parents who also will not gossip. We're looking for parents who will not slander. We're looking for parents who will not deride coaches, officials, players, or other parents. The parents play an important role in this thing. We can overcome a lot of things. We can take your athlete, we can make them a better volleyball player, we can make them a better athlete. Hopefully we can make them a better human being, but we can't overcome what they may face at home. We are probably not a club for everyone. However, if you want your daughter or son to learn the game of volleyball, if you want them to learn determination, if you want them to learn grit, if you want them to learn the self-confidence that can only come from sacrifice and accomplishment, then we ask that you would join us here on June the 22nd at the Fieldhouse Fitness Center. We're going to have a parent info meeting at 7 p.m. Friday, June 22nd. The kids get a chance to play in our sand courts while the adults learn a little bit more about the upcoming volleyball season and the different opportunities that we hope to have here at the Fieldhouse Volleyball Academy.